these slides before we get into the actual meditation and session. So I did want to share, that we're talking about wood and the emotion that's associated with wood, but it's more than an emotion. So it certainly is anger, but anger is about it's vibrant energy, right? It's the energy that pushes us to grow towards the sun. It's the energy that pushes the plants to grow towards the sun, or, really gets that seed cracking through its little shell in order to grow. So when you think in terms of that kind of energy, and then you're like, oh, okay, well then anger, how does that play out? And I just find that can be really informative for ourselves when we become angry about something. That anger can be a teacher, and it can really shine a light on certain areas where we may be having some resistance, or we might have some kind of trigger or block, but it's an opportunity to learn. So as opposed to looking at it as something to be feared. And certainly, in Western culture, and many different religions tend to say anger is bad, but only one aspect of anger is bad when it becomes destructive, right? But anger, when it's looked at in balance, can be really, move us into our potential, which is towards that sun energy and that fire element. Learning who we are and our authenticity and our ability to express ourselves. So it really has a wonderful role in our lives when we can, develop a good relationship with that vibrant energy of anger. And certainly it's useful when we're looking at our own boundaries too. Let's just see. So I had this one up. I don't know if we've had a few more people join, so I'll just share this slide because I think that, it's that whole what's pushing us through. And sometimes we'll hear ourselves, or I know when I feel stuck with something, that quality of being stuck, that inertia, that it's stuck. To me, the word of that is frustration, right? It's like, I want to move, but I can't. And so even though it can look like we're spinning our wheels, there's a quality of frustration, which is that anger. And there's something blocking our growth and our potential. And so, that's really more of the organ of the gallbladder energy, which I'll just talk a little bit about. This is just because I love Yoda. Who doesn't love Yoda? How can you not love Yoda? So this is the sage, and it's interesting when you look at archetypal energies of the elements. By no means is it limited to the sage, but what is the sage, right? I love this quote: "The sage is not a do-gooder." And certainly we have many healers and practitioners that join me for these, join all of us for these each week. And one of the challenges that we have is that we have, I think, as a society, but then often personally, what we think we're supposed to be when we're healers, and what that identification is. And does that mean we're supposed to be good? And, the irony in that is that sometimes, I can think of a few good friends of mine, good, that have really given me a swift kick in the you-know-what when I really needed it. And it's been a wake-up call for me. And that did not come that actually came purely out of a place of compassion and benevolence, but it used that wake-up type of anger, that wisdom that, hey, she's not seeing something and I'm going to help her to see something here. So even as a practitioner, being nice and being being attached to however we think we're supposed to be can really limit our potential. And that's why I wanted to share this, because personally, I had this whole, image of what I was supposed to be when I started to become a practitioner. And I really thought I was supposed to be like, I don't know, Buddha or something initially, and I thought I was supposed to be all of these things. And then I started to say to clients, after I realized that wasn't the truth, because I'd never be able to get there, or maybe, but it's unlikely. And I'd say, if you're looking for the guru on the mountain, this one fell off a long time ago. That was my thing. It's like, I've had amazing awarenesses and amazing journeys, but I've also had some really big wake-ups. And so I feel that keeps me human and able to relate to people more. So that in itself is a gift. But enough about me. Let's talk more about Yoda. Okay, and then I thought I would share, really this is definitely from the traditional Chinese medicine perspective, looking at wood, the virtues and the distortions. And so when we use that language, it's more of a traditional language to use with the wood elements. We look at virtues as, positive or balanced qualities of the expression of the wood element in our lives. And so we're looking at, let's just do, or distortions, right? So things that are distorted by what? By often our perception or our beliefs, whether they're our own personal beliefs that we've adopted, but oftentimes it's the beliefs that we're taught as very young children. And so our beliefs about what should and shouldn't be can often distort an expression of the wood element. So when we're talking about, say, anger, right? It's like, well, I may not be able to express that because it's dangerous for me to express that. And so that means that I may, hold it in, and then I might develop resentment and coping mechanisms. And that may result in some ill health, or I might not, feel afraid of putting up stronger boundaries. And so then I'm a little wishy-washy, and then people walk on me, and then I get resentful, but then I withdraw, right? So all of these different things and so it's like that compassion versus timidity, or timidity or passive aggressive. It's like you do things because you're afraid, but then you want to get back at somebody. And I've seen this, and I'm sure I've done it. I'm very human. To know ourselves is the best way of learning about others. And then, growth versus aggression or bullying. And then the quality of hope. And I love this because really, I don't think I mentioned this, but wood, the reason I wanted to do wood is because certainly in the Northern Hemisphere, we're starting to move into spring, and that is the time of year for wood. So all of these elements, they play out at different times of the year, but they each have their main time, and wood is definitely the springtime. And it's that hope, right? It's the hope of, new growth. It's the hope of feeling better, of feeling revitalized after a long winter, or even after a long illness, or after grieving, that we're able to come out again. And so it brings in those qualities of that starting to move up into, and then I love this, the yin yang balance, like that wood, if you think about a tree, and often it's associated with a bamboo, because the bamboo is very strong, but it's also very flexible. So when the wind comes, it can bend as opposed to snap. And so that's a very interesting thing, because the wind comes, and that's life's adversities. That's the challenges that we face. And when that comes along, if we're really rigid, then it can snap us. And if we're flexible, then we're able to adapt to and bounce back, and possibly bounce back even stronger from the lessons that we've learned. So it's that fluidity of that and flexibility. And I also think of the willow tree, and then also that a tree is rooted in the earth. So it's pulling up the energy from the earth, and it's branching towards to heaven, to the sun, to our growth potential. So it's just a wonderful, these images for me have always been what allows me to remember what I'm working with, what kind of energy we're working with. And then these are the organs, the liver, and the different qualities that that they represent in our body mind. And I'm going to share a little story about something that happened with one of my clients this week, and the liver, and then the gallbladder. So if you wanted to, again, personification of the liver. So if the liver, you could look at the liver as a general. So the liver is the big picture thinker, sets the vision, sees the future. And then the gallbladder is the getter done. It's the mover and the shaker and the decision maker, as I fondly refer to the gallbladder as. It's like it gets things done. It catalyzes actions. And oftentimes this will come up for me in sessions where it may be that, there's some kind of even chemical reaction that's not happening well in the body, and the gallbladder energy can actually come in and strengthen to get things moving again. So the story, I'll just share this really brief story. So I was doing a session with a client, and we had to do something with his auditory complex, his auditory cortex. And I was doing it like a Parama technique, but what I was doing really was to refile. I had to refile the systems. Like there were some faulty filing systems. We just had to reorganize the whole thing. And so I'm thinking this is what I'm doing, following my protocol. And then all of a sudden I see this file folder open up. And I can see all the files, and there's like, they're not really, they're not that organized. And I had to start pulling them out, and I had to get rid of this one. And then I was like reorganizing and putting them in nice, neat new folders and stuff. And I'm telling him all this, and he's like, this is crazy. I just did this week. He actually pulled his file folder out for all of his paperwork and stuff, and he completely reorganized. He got rid of what he didn't need. And what is so key about that, for both of us, we were like, yes, because, and I'm actually kind of eyeing Beverly here. Beverly is, she has agreed to gift us with her Feng Shui knowledge, which she has years of, but we were sharing a little bit. I shared the story with her because with Feng Shui, which is based in these 5 elements and understanding of qi and flow, and that what is happening in our environment is absolutely a reflection of what is happening in our body. And so this distinct link between his whole filing system and him filing and me needing to refile, there's an absolute correlation. And I was like, oh man, I really have to clean out some cupboards. And I say that because that is also wood energy. So it's like, you look at this, it's organizing, planning, and it's wanting things to be better organized. It doesn't have to be organized per anybody says how it's about for you. So when we're disorganized, when our life feels chaotic, then that can be an imbalance in the wood element. And so even like if you just tackle a small, let's say that, it's like, oh, I've been meaning to organize that. Oh, I keep putting it off. But doing that will actually reflect back into your physical health and well-being. So just wanted to share that story because and then I'll definitely share when Beverly has organized things, and she's going to give us a Feng Shui intro, which I'm just thrilled about. So I just wanted to share that story because it really does illustrate that what's out there and how it's impacting what's in here and on our relationship with our environment. And so here's just a really nice little, chart of all of the different qualities that, in the middle, I've written balance, like benevolence. So benevolence is like, it is taking the high road, is letting go of almost like taking things personally and being able to let go and take the high road and be compassionate and understanding. So, okay, 10 years ago, I may have gotten really angry at this person for what they're doing to me. But now that I have a deeper understanding of just humans in general, I understand that their actions towards me are not personal. And I'm able to rise above that and have compassion and make decisions at a higher level, which is that benevolence. And then also qualities of self-care and self-love, because those reflect in our boundaries, right? Like if I'm caring and loving for myself as much as I'm caring and loving for others, then I'm going to have and reflect healthy boundaries and also respect others' boundaries, right? So it's like less conflict. And then supporting and supportive, and this genuine authenticity, which I kind of talked a little bit about, when we're not being triggered into things and we're moving more on our path, and nurturing, and also the ability to manifest. So if you think about that kind of wood energy is, okay, it's time to grow. It's time to go out there and get it done, right? But not to say that it's rash, but also just the activity. And then finally that compassion and empathy. And I'm not going to focus on the deficiencies or excesses, because we're probably all really aware of those in ourselves. They may come up, but we'll see. And then you know, this is also very interesting just because when we're looking at the physical, bringing in the emotional here of like headaches, depression, moodiness, outbursts, or even just, you know, timidity, and insomnia. So the physical expressions of these addictions, viruses. So that's kind of interesting. Anger and viruses, that correlation. And yeah, gallstones. So gallstones, really interesting, right? Little balls of anger. When I learned that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, you know? And blood sugar imbalance, because the blood or the liver works with the pancreas to help to balance things for us. So there's my introduction. Does anyone have, I'm just going to stop sharing that. Does anyone have any questions about, oh, there's lots of chats. I hope I wasn't going too fast. I'm just going to open up my screen a little bit so I can, oh yeah, we have lots of people. Hi, everyone. There's no try, only do. Yes, that's one of my favorite too, Sherry. Okay, you're getting a lot of static. How's it now, Courtney? Is everybody, I should have asked everyone to mute right off the bat, so sorry about that. Okay, so let's, you know, it's funny actually, because I mean, usually I'm such a I wing things in the sense that it's not like I don't like planning. I actually love planning, but I'm usually so busy that I don't always have time to plan. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to barrel ahead. So that's what we're going to do. So I don't really know what we're going to do here. I know we're going to do a meditation and a body talk session. Other than that, let's just see. And that's the beauty of body talk. So I'm going to invite you to breathe. And and yeah, just take in that breath and allow it to fill your body. And I did want to share one more thing. I did mention that wind quality of the wood element, and you know, that impersonal quality of wind, and that, you know, it's like, you know, you think about in nature, wind can be a hurricane, it can be wild winds that, you know, blow trees down, that can be very destructive, but it's not personal, you know, and that's just a very interesting way of looking at that. So the other thing about wind in our bodies is that oftentimes, if something is wanting to balance with the wood element, we will have pain that moves around. So it's like that pain that will be in one area may move to another area. And so that's that can often be a quality of wood in your body that is trying to find balance. So I invite you to yeah, just connect with your breath. And the color red is coming in. And so if you just want to connect with the color red, I say that connect with it because, you know, if you can envision red, something that is red, but if you can't see something that's red, you know, maybe you can feel the heat or the temperature of red, or what red might taste like to you. So is it a kind of red fruit that you like? Or even what red may sound like. So just connecting with that and that color. And connecting with that actually in your heart area. And does it have movement? So does that red have movement? Maybe it is your heart and that heartbeat. that pushes your blood and awareness all around your body, nourishing you, moving life force, energy, and oxygen. And then bringing your breath and awareness up through your throat area into your head, right into the front of your forehead in your prefrontal cortex area. And right in that area, just become aware of any kind of sensation or color that just pops into your awareness. Any texture or sound or sensation. And then I invite you to expand that awareness from your forehead all around your head. So just expanding it through your brain and then out all around your head. Just imagine that there's a light that is all around your head. It's a warm, soft light that is nourishing and protecting your head. And also down your face, so nourishing and protecting your eyes and your cheeks, your nose, your mouth. And if you're holding any kind of tension, just allow your tension to release with that nourishing light that's protecting, energizing, and surrounding your face, down your neck, surrounding your whole neck area. And it's almost like it's water. So the flow of this light is like water coming from the top of your head and slowly moving down now across your shoulders and your upper back. And with each breath, you just allow your body to move into that light and allow that light to surround and embrace you, nourishing and protecting. Gently and slowly moving down your arms, surrounding your arms, down to your wrists and your hands. And then coming up the sides of your body and continuing to fall like a waterfall down your chest area, into your abdominal area, almost feeling a slight warmth as that embraces you, and down your back, that waterfall of nourishing light, down into the back of your hips and your buttocks, into the front of your hips, into your thighs, all around your legs. Continuing to become aware of and observe any tension or discomfort you feel, and just invite that light as a source of energy and purification around your whole body, moving around your knees and right through your knees, down into your lower legs. And then right from the top of your head, this continues to just stream down right through your whole body, into your feet, all around your ankles, right into the base of your soles of your feet, your toes. And breathe that nourishing light in your body. Breathe it through your skin. And imagine that this is both protecting you and also connecting you to your environment in a safe, healthy, and nourishing way. And slowly bring your awareness, continuing to hold that light around your body, up your legs, just traveling with the light through your hips, and bringing that light now into your mouth and right into your lungs, that healing, nourishing, protective light. Energizing every little cell in your lungs, helping to invigorate and revitalize your lungs' ability to process the environment and oxygen for the health of your body. Continuing to allow that light to gently move into your digestive organs. All of your digestive organs, your pancreas, protecting that through your small intestine and your stomach, through the large intestine, to your little kidneys in your back, lighting up your kidney energy, and your bladder, and then moving your awareness up to the right side underneath your rib cage into your liver and gallbladder areas. And just invite that light to protect and embrace those nourishing and powerful organs in your body. Just stay with that light with your breath. And if that light chooses to bring your awareness somewhere else in your body, then just follow the light. And continue to connect to that awareness of that light coming from above you and surrounding and protecting and connecting you. Now I'm bringing that light and awareness into your throat area. So this is actually taking me into the little glands all throughout your mouth that provide the first digestive organs for you, the digestive enzymes in your mouth, as well as the protection of your immune system in these secretions. So it's like the first thing you put in your mouth starts to produce protection from your immune system to make sure that anything that's gotten in there is supposed to be in there, and anything that didn't can be balanced. So your glands in your throat are really lighting up, particularly something called the parotid, which are just at the back of your throat, but also linking into your thyroid gland and the parathyroid gland. So these two glands are all about your energy and your metabolism. And at the body-mind level, your sense of self-expression and communication. So the priority here is to do 2 types of circulation, continuing with this, this light revitalization circulation, and also with nerve supply and lymphatic circulation. So nerve supply enhancing the communication from your nervous system to your thyroid, and then from your thyroid to your nervous system, and to the various glands in your brain that also support the production of thyroid hormone, so that that communication highway is enhanced for production and your vitality and energy and metabolism. And then specifically into your parathyroid glands, which are these 4 tiny little glands that sit at the back of your thyroid gland that help your body to balance calcium for the strength of your bones and your joints, and for the movement of your muscles in your body. So within the parathyroid gland, I'm actually going into a cellular optimization. So the first priority within this is to balance the subtle sense of hearing. And in this case, it's fear specifically about bone health and aging. So all the different sort of types of bone dis-ease that can come with aging, like osteopenia or osteoporosis, or even just the degradation of joints when there's a calcium, so the imbalance. So the priority here is, 1, to balance that sense of fear, that fear about that which is a larger, sort of more macro, what we're hearing in our health system about the potential for bone disorders as we grow older. So that's the first priority, and anchoring that into your heart to individuation. And then the next priority that's coming up is from a nutritional perspective, and it is a body chemistry balancing of vitamin D in its partnership with calcium in your body's health, in your joint and bone health, and also in your immune system, vitamin D being essential for your immune system. So bringing this in as a body chemistry balancing, and then there's another link in this cell optimization. So this is actually linking into the small intestine microbiome. So all the little critters that live in your small intestine that live in symbiosis, in harmony with you, and some of them aren't so much in harmony, but that's the focus here, is to do some balancing on this as it relates to digestive health and calcium and mineral use and vitamin D use here. So there's this balancing of adaptability to eating less greens. So it's like it's not necessarily like a personal thing as it's so much as it is a lifestyle that as humans, we don't eat as many greens as say we did 1,000 years ago when we were out, or even 1,500 years ago that we were out foraging. And so helping to adapt to newer sources, other sources within this microbiome, getting them to support that adaptability for being able to harness the nutrients that support the parathyroid glands and the calcitonin. Okay. So now I am linking into your liver, and the liver being one of our wood elements. And so first at this level, the liver is coming up as in its role of the processor. And so your liver it loves to process things. It loves to organize and figure out, you know, I'm going to hold on to this and I'm going to let this one go. And we need to store this for later. And I need to break this hormone down because there's more than enough in the blood. And so it's more of that hormone processing capacity that we are going into. And I'm actually going to go into a subsession on this. So I have a permissions, some kind of permissions balancing coming up here for this processing of hormones in the liver. Okay. So what is coming up in the subsession is to balance cortisol. And cortisol, as the stress hormone, cortisol's impact on the balance of, it's like the impact on the liver. So it's like the excess cortisol has been taking a lot of the processing capabilities of the liver. It's like it's been taking up almost too much time here. It's like, okay, there's been a lot of cortisol production in relation to dealing with external stressors and internal stressors. So the priority here is to balance from a body chemistry level cortisol, but also into the adrenal glands. I'm actually going into the right adrenal gland and into coping with change. So we're balancing this consciousness of coping with change, which is helping to shift beliefs that create the need to cope or fears about coping. Can I cope? And how that creates additional cortisol. So balancing that quality, anchoring into your heart, into individuation. So that's the subsession on the processing of hormones in your liver. Okay, so then there's more in the liver story. The liver would like to do a little more here, and this is really coming up about its ability to cleanse your blood. And so your blood is continually flowing through the liver, and it's being detoxified, it's being broken down, the bilirubin is being removed, and that's turning into bile to help you to digest fat. So there's lots of activity in this process of cleansing blood. And what's coming up more specifically here is toxins. So really the detoxification pathways and its processing of toxins from your blood. But it's actually coming up as metabolic toxins. So it's like toxins that your body is producing as a byproduct of stress hormones. And there's a satellite here. So it's like, yeah, it's like because of stress hormones, it's put this extra burden on. So again, we're kind of coming at this stress from a couple of different ways. There's something else here. Sorry, I just need to tap into this for a moment. So just continue with your deep breaths, please. Yeah, so there's a quality to this toxin, which is, it's coming in as masculine anger, aggressive anger that is also needing to be detoxified. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's from a man. It just means that it's this very strong type of yang masculine anger, and it's external. So it's an external environmental factor that's been impacting. And it's like it's toxic to you. So that's how it's coming up for balancing. Okay, so that is that's a subsession on the liver for now. Okay, so we're going to tap this formula in, and you're welcome to join me. If you'd like, you can just put one hand over your throat area, because that's where this began, and continue with your deep breaths. And continuing with that light imagery of that nourishing and embracing protective light around your body. Good yawn there, Shirley. Usually it's me yawning, so thanks. I appreciate your help on this. Great. Okay, so I have, oh, someone's a wood tiger. Oh, Marine's a wood tiger. That's great. I don't know much about wood tigers, although I know we have another tiger here. There's at least one more tiger. So for those of you who are not familiar with Chinese astrology, it's really interesting. It's a little bit of a twist on, well, it's definitely its own perspective, but it's worth looking into. I'm a fire horse, which I enjoy being, because there's this whole society in Japan of women that were born under the fire horse sign, because they were actually, the year of the fire horse for women was not a good year, because we're so kind of outspoken and we're everything that a traditional woman is not supposed to be in Japan. And so, you know, they would lie about the kids being born in this year and stuff. Very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to think of 1 or 2 areas that you feel stuck. So that's what we're going to work on now. So you can write it down if you like, for sure, if you feel that way, or, it's like, what area, when I say stuck, it could be in health, it could be at work, it could be that there's a project that you've wanted to start that you just haven't been able to get going. It could be a relationship. So there's just many, whatever for you feel stuck in. And as I shared a little bit about at the beginning of this session, talking about what that quality of being stuck is, there's a quality of frustration to that, because we do want to move forward, but we're just frustrated. We can't, like, something is stopping us. So that's what this next formula is going to focus on. And so I think we might do a little bit more, bringing some more archetypal energy in here is what's coming up. I usually have my notepad right with me, and I don't. Okay. Okay, so working on this as a theme, there is some kind of something about boundaries with this coming up. And then your gallbladder. So when so I did a little introduction to gallbladder. It's the mover and the shaker and the decision maker. It's a catalyzer. It governs our tendons and our ability to be flexible. It also really governs our drive and our motivation, our ability to push ourselves forward. So the gallbladder is coming in. And so I'm just going into Mindscape a little more in the visual here, and because I've got something coming in here about your gallbladder. So, whether or not you have a gallbladder, like a physical gallbladder, it doesn't matter. We're still working with the energy of that. And so, okay. So there's, I guess I used the term distortion earlier. So the gallbladder is coming in, and I see it as like this little man, and or little being, but it's distorted. So that's how it's coming up. There's a distortion here, and there's definitely anger in this gallbladder, and yeah. So that's the first thing. And sensitivity. Sensitive about boundaries. So there's some sensitivity about boundaries being pushed. And how this is coming up is, as I said, it's like this, I'm seeing this little ball, with little eyes and arms and legs. And so, but there's these kind of little balls within that, or tender spots that, if I kind of go to push, it's like, ow, ow, ow. So there's this tenderness about these buttons being pushed, this about boundaries. Sensitivity, being sensitive. That's it. Sensitive. Yeah. So even oversensitive. Yeah. And I'm just really going to ask that you continue to take deep breaths. So what's coming up with this is defensiveness, defensiveness. Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay. So, you know, under the umbrella of this energy of the gallbladder and this sensitivity, and therefore this defensiveness of being sensitive, we're actually going to go into your brain, going into the thalamus, which is like, it's like your world. Okay. So your world and how you perceive everything. When anything happens, or when you're thinking about things or experiencing things, it's like it goes to the thalamus, because the thalamus says, this is how it relates to me. So it's very much about your perceptions on things. And so this is where we're going. And it's a quality of not being understood. And being angry about that. Okay. You know, so how that comes up for you, how that has shown up for you in your life is going to be unique to each of you. And so with that not understood is also a quality of being judged. So it's like this perception of being judged. And then because and not being understood, and being judged for not being understood. Like there's this whole thing about that and that contraction, but then also that defensiveness. So it's like, here's the storyline of what's coming up here. So in the gallbladder, then we've got your thymus gland, your immune system, and that defensive quality, and that's taking us into the thalamus, into this feeling not being understood, and judgment here. Okay. 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 So observing, you know, these consciousness, these experiences, but these perceptions and consciousness aspects, to first start to shift them. But I'm just going to see if anything more needs to come, because that's a parcel now. Yeah. So it's the sun. It's like the sun. Its energy is coming in to help to shift. Just really shining a light on it, energizing this to help to start to shift and lift and balance that. And then I'm coming back into this defensiveness as a protection for the sensitivity. And so here's where we're going to go into some archetypal balancing. I mean, it's all archetypal, but just to get more specific in the archetypes. Yeah. So it's actually the victim archetype. And so, you know, nobody wants to be called a victim, but you know, it's not, it's like we all have this, like, because we've all been victimized. It's not to negate that is to say we're not human, right? But then when we call someone a victim, there's a stigma attached to that as well. So it's like, you know, that's why it's coming up, because it's like we need to balance all of the perceptions about that and how that's influencing you. If that makes sense. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, is that it's like, it's the label of it, you know, it's like, I'm not a victim, or, well, yeah, I'm a total victim, you know, it's, and then there are justifications for feeling that way. But then when we hold on to that identity, you know, it's dragging us along and we're staying in that. So it's, how do we find a balance of not identifying with that? And with that victimhood, what's coming up here is that oversensitive. Because I've been through this, I'm feeling this way. And so, you know, it's like, it's the identification. So we need to bring that into a new balance. And so that it's like helping to lift that sensitivity of that little gallbladder of ow, ow, ow. And, you know, to be able to get out of that state, to be able to move forward, right? To be able to get out of that bruised state of not being understood, of feeling very victimized, so that it can move to that empowerment. Okay. So I'm just going to talk to the victim here, or ask the victim to come in some way if there's more information here. I just need a drink of my water. Well, okay, sorry. I'm like, when there's a victim, there's blame, right? You know, can't have one without the other in a way. There's some dynamic, there's some finger pointing going on. And often it can be we're pointing the finger at ourselves. Oh, I can't believe I made that stupid mistake again in my life, like whatever. But there's some kind of dynamic here, right? So like that's the first thing that I had to share, because I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part of it. That there's always a dynamic with that. And that's the first thing. Okay, so now we're linking into your hip chakras. So your minor chakras of your hips to help to balance this archetypal energy. And we're balancing it to the natural consciousness of your minor hip chakras. And so, you know, we have both our main 7 chakras. We have our 8th chakra, which is like a connection to the past or the future. But then we also have all these, you know, smaller points around our bodies that hold a lot of function. So, you know, you think about what the hips do on a daily basis. They support us. They give us flexibility in moving forward. They represent our sexuality. They represent our trust in life's processes. And so, but what's also coming in here is actually the influence of the gallbladder meridians that run right through your hips. And this is very much about energizing that gallbladder energy within the hip chakras for that support. So helping to really balance that sense and consciousness of support, not only in your hips, but within your body mind. So helping to shift beliefs and that narrow your vision for finding the support and broadening that up for opportunity, you know. And I love the word opportunity, because the sort of history of the word opportunity is the wind behind you. And it's like the wind behind you. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about that energy of wind, that energy of the push to keep you moving forward. So it's like that moving to opening up to more opportunity by really balancing the natural consciousness within your hips of support. And so we're going to anchor that to your heart. And here comes anger. So, so we're anchoring that into your heart, but then I have the next, I'm just not sure here. It's just, I could just feel the anger coming up. It's like, okay, here I am. Okay. Okay, so it's coming up in a body part. Okay, so it's actually coming up in the amygdala. We have two amygdalas. They are little memories, very strong memory centers within our brains. They're very connected to our sense of smell, and they, they store very strong emotional memories for us to keep us alert and alive, but sometimes they can get the better of us. So sometimes those memories, I mean, I'm sure there's a correlation with PTSD and past very strong trauma and the amygdala, because they can kind of get the better of us and they start replaying. So we're actually going into the amygdala and for some balancing about some anger of some sort. Okay. Oh, so this does relate to the virus, the pandemic. I've decided I'm just not giving it its name anymore, so that's why I'm avoiding that. I'm not in denial. I'm just not calling it what it's called because I'm just done. So anyway, that's my anger saying I got a boundary. So anyway, the virus that we all know what I'm talking about. So we're actually going into this balancing, and it again comes into this masculine anger. And it's also of a certain political leader that was in power for quite a long time that had a lot of masculine anger and belligerence. And it's that type of anger that is coming up for balancing, and it's coming up as a threat. So this is at like a very, I call it a primal level, in that it's that active memory of that type of anger and that frequency, and in relation to this virus and balancing that. Okay, so this is great because this can be a real trigger, especially when we're balancing it from your amygdala. It can really trigger that fight, flight, freeze like that, and then inflammation. And so this is coming up to be balanced as not just a singular active memory, but like for you, that type and frequency of anger in your life and where it's come up, to balance that as a thread, to be able to bring that into discharge and synthesis. Okay. And this links back into your throat, and this time into the throat chakra and into the sub 3, the power or the solar plexus aspect of your throat chakra, which is your confidence to express your power, to express yourself. And express for this whole theme of this moving through that being stuck. Okay, so this whole formula, now we're linking it back into your thymus gland and to a consciousness of self-acceptance. And it's like this acceptance of all that you are, your anger that you feel, your fear that you feel, the joy, like the darkness, the vindictiveness that you have possibly felt, like the darkness and the light, acceptance of all of it. So it's like an embracing consciousness of acceptance, really helping to shift beliefs that limit that you know, we started off with this beautiful light embrace, and that's the word that's coming up, that allow you to embrace all of you. And we're going to anchor that into your heart, and we're going to tap this out. So as I'm tapping this out, I'm like, okay, so where did that archetypal victim thing go? And it's like, no, the rebel. So the rebel energy is coming up. And it's, you know, again, it's like with all these energies, there's a balance of that. And it's when we need it, that's when it shows up. And that's what's coming up now. That kind of like, you know, yeah, like I don't need that. And being able to just reject in that kind of rebellious way, in a positive sense. Whew, I just got this like wind energy. It's like, woohoo, okay. I wish we had champagne. Okay, that's my fire horse coming out. All right, I think that's it, guys. But I'll just tap in to see if there's anything else, but I believe that that's the end. I would love to invite, I don't know if I have answers, but if anyone has any comments or questions that you wish to chat in or anything like that, or how are you feeling, or if you just want to sort of leave this at that, then, you know, you're most welcome to go your own way. But thank you everyone for joining and bringing your energy to make the session and the energy of this what it is. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.